Yeah, read it. Or just text messages. Take from the top. Or
like I said, we're new to Google Hangouts, so we'll be learning how to do this webinar as we go. Some of the statistics that we came across in our research is that 55% of teens say they give little or no thought to the consequences of posting something online. 49% of parents think that their teens know how to deal with uncomfortable content online, but fewer than 1/3 of teens agree. Now this was startling to us, and this is why we decided to focus specifically on teenagers. In 2013, 740 million records were leaked online. And that included credit card numbers, social security numbers, online credentials such as usernames and passwords. And many of those users were teens. We know that 95% of teens are online. And as we think about that, there are around 25 million teens in the US, and so that's over 8 million of teens online that are uncomfortable posting content. So we're going to go ahead and teach you how to use the website. Sean will take over at this point. And one more thing is, as you use the website, please feel free, and as you're listening into this webinar, we would love your feedback. We'll be having a question and answer session at the end. And so if you could comment on, while you're exploring the website, different features you like or don't like, or feedback that you have for us, or questions that you have about your security concerns, or other questions that you have about CyberIQ, please let us know in the comments.
Great, thanks, Julie. So we're going to dive into a little bit of how to actually use CyberIQ. We're very happy to be here, and again, just like Julie said, if you want to, even on this YouTube video, comment or on the site, give us some feedback. We're definitely still in the very early stages of this. So all throughout the website, as you can see on screen here, we tried to make the materials very modular in that they're there for you. We're not going to create one type of course or content or something like that that meets everybody's needs. So we've organized things into different topics, allowing you to be in control as the educator to really teach what you think is needed most. So we've really divided all of our research and information into learning in two different ways. The first one is kind of a micro course, where you hold your hand and you walk through the different topics of understanding what it is, a description, how it'll affect you, and walk through it in ways like that. The other is in articles, where it's a great one-stop shop for resources for educators. So let's take a look at a couple of those now. So hopefully you've taken a look at the website. This is our main homepage here. And you can see up at the top the main categories, and then the subcategories for those modular topics like I was discussing a minute ago. But then also, well, and then here's inside one of the articles, you can see the outline that I was telling you about of how does this affect me, how do I protect myself, things to remember, kind of a final wrap-up, and an entire article. But we realized for educators wanting to get in and be able to see the information, that they want to see that all. So we added another section of the site that takes the same materials and organizes them in a new way, which is accessible here at the bottom of the homepage under training materials. Once you click on that, then you can see all the different articles and download any associated content with it. So all of these, for example, have PowerPoint slides that walk through the key headings and the key points of these different topics. So then once you click on one of these, it has all the information and then additional resources there at the bottom for you. And this helps in a couple different ways. One, simply for parents, being able to understand how to protect your family, how to protect your teenagers in your home, which is something that's very important. We've seen a really high request for this, as parents not quite understanding perhaps the best way to protect their children. And then the other is here, again, for educators, talking about the best way to use these materials in your classroom, and then even being able to download some content. And like I said, some of this content it follows the main headings that we have, but it's open for you to be able to modify to the needs of your classes. And then we have any references if you want to learn more about different statistics we cited in the article, and extra resources to be able to dive in more that if for some reason there's a problem or in your school, or if there's something that you want to research more, we provided significant resources for that. So that's really what we have in a nutshell. It's an awesome one-stop shop to be able to learn about cybersecurity, to keep yourself safe, to keep your family safe, and to be able to educate others in the classroom. And we'll go ahead now and walk through a more detailed example of that. But again, as we go through and you have any questions, go ahead and comment on that live feed, and here at the end we'll talk about some of your questions or concerns or feedback or anything else that you'd like to discuss. There you go, Devin.
Thank you, Sean. So we're going to go ahead and kind of look at what the presentations look like that you can download on the site. So we're using the example of the sexting article that we have. So the PowerPoint, if you download it, this is exactly what you'll see. So it has a brief description of what sexting is. It talks about how it affects you, or affects the teens, better said. And it's really just kind of a bare bones, very basic, high level, what you should be teaching to the teens, of how it affects them, how do they protect themselves, and then things that they need to remember, the points that really need to be driven home. So as you can see, it's a very, very simple, quick PowerPoint, and that was kind of our purpose. We did not want to give you and say, this is what you have to teach them, and here is how you're going to teach it. You guys are the educators. You're the ones who went to college for 4 years to learn how to reach out to your students and teach them in the best way possible. And we didn't, and we recognize that. And so what we did is we provided you with these PowerPoint outlines so that you know what you need to teach. And then if you go to the website, you can find the materials to kind of flesh out the presentation. So for example, we'll go through it again, and it could, once you've gone through it, it'll look something like this. So you will have, you can keep the slides telling them what sexting is, and just a brief introduction. Again, how does it affect them? But then maybe you want to add some more stuff here, and you want to talk about some of the facts of sexting. Like 22% of high school age teens, our target audience, have been involved in a form of nude sexting. And maybe you knew this, maybe you didn't, but sending or receiving a sexually suggestive text or image under the age of 18 is considered child pornography and can result in criminal charges. For those of you not aware, child pornography is actually a federal criminal crime, and so not fun. And then among 14 to 24-year-olds who admit to sexting, 29% send these messages to people they have never met but know from the internet. And those are some pretty harrowing facts. We also learned that, I just lost it. Oh, a lot of the apps that are coming out these days, messaging apps, say that they're anonymous. Things like Vine, Yik Yak, they allow teenagers to send these messages to do and get involved in sexting with people they don't know, and they feel like there are no consequences because it's anonymous. However, there are still plenty of consequences, as these are not truly anonymous. In fact, some people may say, well, it doesn't really affect me because I only sext to my boyfriend or girlfriend. But while 70% of teens say they do this, 17% of sexters say they share the messages they receive with others, and 55% of those who share them say they share them with more than one person. So how do you protect yourself from sexting? Well, don't participate in it. It's a great way. Don't record any sexual activities you may be involved in. And if you have participated in sexting, just stop and seek counsel from a trustworthy adult. There's many ways that you can avoid the pressure of sexting. Talking with your parents is a great way. Remember that once an image is out there on the internet, it can never be retrieved and you lose control of it. So ask yourself, how would you feel if teachers, parents, or the entire school saw your picture? No matter how big the social pressure is, don't do it because the consequences can be worse. And remember, it's illegal, don't do it. Here are some of the key points you want to remember about sexting. Think about what you're doing, and then talk to your parents if you're solicited for or have been involved in sexting, and don't ever resend sexual photos you receive. And for more information, visit CyberIQ.org. So again, that's a sample presentation. You will flesh it out, and you will add the content so that it relates to your students. Again, that was just sexting. We have many other topics on the site. Go ahead and download the topics that you feel are most relevant or most pressing to your students, or to your kids, or to your peers, and create a customized solution for your audience.
Now, before we get to questions, as we were reviewing this webinar, we realized that the audio didn't start until about 5 minutes in. So I will rewind really fast so we can tell you a little bit more about the project and this webinar itself. So this webinar is to train educators and parents on how to use the content on the website so that they can, in turn, download materials that we have available there to do presentations to teenagers, to teach teens how to stay safe online. We are CyberIQ. We are a group of BYU students. Our vision is to enable teens everywhere to establish safe, lifelong online habits. And we are comprised of Sean Sutherland, Julie Walton, and Devin Coe. We are BYU Master of Information Systems Management students. We have spent many hours studying cybersecurity and digital forensics as we have been working on this project. And this project is our capstone project, which means that it culminates everything that we have learned in our education into one project that we have spent over 450 hours on. And we know that this website is a work in progress. We hope that for many years to come, it will continue to improve. We would love your feedback so we can continue to improve the site, and so that you can use the material there to keep teens educated for life. In coming weeks, there will be a roadmap put up on the website which will show kind of our vision of how the website will proceed forward from this point. As we are graduating in a few weeks, there will be several more students that will take on this project for next year. We will also be continuing to moderate the site after we graduate, and we hope that we can keep the site up to date on current events in the news and updating it with more topics. We know that there are several topics there, but there are still more topics that we could address in more depth. And so the site will evolve, and we would love your help in helping the site evolve to make it the best possible site to educate teens about cybersecurity. And that is the end of our prepared material, so we will take some time for questions. And we understand that many of you might not have been able to tune in right now for the broadcast. We understand that it's still during the school day for many educators. So as you view this video, whether it be now or later, if you're not tuning in live, we would still love your feedback. And so please feel free to leave comments on this video, to subscribe to our channel. We'll be posting more videos in coming days, as well as subscribe to our site to get updates as the site evolves.
Great, so it looks like we have one question. This was a little bit before Julie was talking about the roadmap, but Julie, maybe can you tell us a little bit more about what the roadmap is after you and the rest of us, we graduate? You talked about being able to post that, but what happens after you graduate and move on? You know, is this something that, how is it going to continue to be updated and be helpful for educators?
Yeah, so as I said before, all three of us are graduating. I will be moving to Washington, D.C., and Sean and Devin will both be moving to Texas. They have accepted jobs there. But just because we are graduating, this does not mean the end of CyberIQ. This is only the beginning. And we have 2 students that are taking this project on next year for their capstone project. And with the what the roadmap means is that we will be posting on there our vision for CyberIQ in the future. Our end goal is that teens will be teaching teens with the material we have there. Ideally, we know that it needs to start with parents and educators, and we know that many of you tuning in perhaps don't know how to stay safe online yourself. So we encourage you to use the website to learn how to stay safe yourself, and then to download these materials from the presentations, use them, give us feedback. We will make the site better, and it will be this evolving process, continual learning process, so that we can make it better. And the roadmap will basically lay out our vision for the next 6 months to a year, and kind of our 2-year and 5-year plans for the site.
Also, something else we'd like to discuss, because this is an ongoing project, like Julie mentioned, we have 2 students who will be taking it over. One of them is in attendance today. I'd like to thank her for being here, Hillary. But it is a continued process. We've partnered with Brigham Young University's Information Systems Department. So if you guys in the future feel like, yes, I can teach this in class, but maybe we want to reach a broader audience, maybe we want to do an assembly, or maybe personally in your community, in your church group, however you want to do this, go ahead and contact us. Because we're working with the Information Systems Department, they have offered to allow students to go out and do these presentations as representatives of CyberIQ. And so they can go to the schools, to the church groups, to communities, however you like. And so just reach out to us and contact us, and we will do our best to accommodate and help further get this message out there, because we realize that there are a lot of people out there who really don't understand the risks or how to protect themselves. Sean, do you have any more questions or anything else you'd like to cover?
I don't see any other questions. Do you want to announce some upcoming? I guess we have one upcoming event.
Yeah, so April 16th at 7 p.m. in the Springville, Utah Library, we'll be doing a community presentation. So Sean, Julie, and I will be there presenting not about how to use CyberIQ, but actually presenting the materials we have and saying, here are the threats, here's how to protect yourself. And so anyone is welcome to that. I know that Springville Libraries reached out to either Springville Junior High or Springville High School, and they'll be allowing students to make up detention for attending our presentation. So if there's other principals out there, do the same thing.
I think that's all. We really appreciate you, your time watching, joining us here to talk a little bit more about CyberIQ, something that's very dear to us and something that's very much needed. And thank you for your time. And again, we invite any kind of feedback, comments, new features. Again, this is just the very first version, the foundation of what we really would like to do with this. And so get on our website, get on cyberiq.org. Make sure to follow us for updates there by signing up for our newsletter, and as well by checking us out on social media. So thanks again for tuning in. We really appreciate it.
Please sign up for updates. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/CyberIQ, and our Twitter handle is @CyberIQ. Thanks for tuning in.